So this is Calicat, the Calicatster on the set of the stuff update, I guess, thing. I guess with the Star Trek channel, I guess. Sure. Did a bunch of Transformer stuff over on the other channel, and those stories were based on pre-existing scripts, and that's why we filmed them, and so did that, and completed the second Transformer one, the second 3-hour special miniseries over there. And there's not going to be a third one because there's no script for the third one. I mean, you can make one, but yeah, and we're thinking, maybe, that long laboring Dinobot story, or the long laboring, we get some Constructicons and Aerobots. But really, like the Dinobot story for the Transform thing, you kind of don't have, you can't do much with that. Grimlock and the Dinobots basically would be essentially characters that sound dumb going on for 2 hours. That would be really boring, I would think. And the aerial bots would be flighty, and the Constructicons would be kind of oafish. And that wouldn't really make a good story. So anyway, I'm probably going to go back to Star Trek for a while. I haven't written anything yet, but Calicat Obsession, which was meant as a companion obsession, was meant to be just a fun something to do for no cost, something to do, and it's fine. Yeah, it's a fun story. The Transformer one is fun too. Who did the Fallen Era was the latest one, and so this is but that's for the Transformers. And yeah, I haven't thought of another one in no time, and it's been in a week. It'll be the 4th of July weekend. It'll be July. It's a little over a week, and it is Wednesday the 24th. Wednesday the 24th now, so it'd be like 31st, June 30th, and July 1st. July 1st next week. If we're gonna sneak in a Star Trek story, you'd probably start writing it and putting it together. The Transformer one was different in that it was finished just prior to the week-long trip to meet up with the cast from the story, from the other stories from the previous season. So to see what they were up to. It was a day camp thing, vacation Bible school camp thing. Wasn't related to the story, but the story was barely discussed at all. Barely discussed. The characters that inspired Emoji and Duke and several others were actually there, which was cool. The Dukes were visiting, so she was in it. She did mention that she'd seen one of the Duke episodes of the Star Trek thing. So she'd seen one. The Brady Bunch one. She saw that one. She was like, "Oh, that was weird," but accurate. Yeah. But anyway, so in the person that inspired Emoji, Emma has seen that one as well. The only one that's a little off put, just a tad, was the other inspiration for the other Woods cadet who heard that episode as well. I guess one of the other ones. I was like, wait a second. So, let me get this straight. Charlotte and I are in here, but as characters from this other timeline. Oh, okay, yeah, just do that. But, I did like the part, though, however, that she can melt minds. So that was funny. You figured out the psychic power. That's cool. But yes, the others. So that was cool. More for them to do later. But yeah, the problematic use of the other people who are currently cadets, is probably, if you do another one, probably don't want to use those two, Woods and Char. Just don't use those two. That's what they're called. Because it doesn't work unless they happen to be in the story and it has something to do with them. Then you can, as long as it has It was also Talia was there from the cast. So the inspiration for the other Mariner version of Mariner it also was there. So there were other characters there. They did not discuss the story, however. It was not like they had a writer's room thing at all. The people running the show were basically the guy who inspired Matrix and a bunch of his friends. He's a college age, and two of them were not. So going on, and he's totally okay with the idea of his character doing more story. But yeah, if you came up with something, a Star Trek kind of story idea, where you dealt with Prodigy and Lower Decks people, that would be fine. However, I think, hold on. However, I think that hitting the dead horse over the head about the Mariner and Mariner's age is like, that's not funny over and over again. You've already done that. So if you're going to do that, then if that's the only reason you're going to do that, then don't do it. You could have a goofy setup type of scene. You could come up with an outline story. Those work sometimes. We've done a few of those. And in the outline story, you could just do an improvised Star Trek story out of it, like for the next 7-8 days. Just put it together. You could totally do that. Just messing around with the figures. And it would be nothing that's necessarily connected as a sequel or follow-up. This is kind of a serial series anyway, so it doesn't have to be that. You have characters that aren't out of character, like some of the Transformers ones or in the other story. But in there, you explained it in that, or we explained it. I explained it in that the Transformers in the story were being manipulated, kind of like in this last episode with the people, the space people, with the companions were being manipulated a little bit. So the Transformers were being manipulated to play other people. Which is a fascinating idea for a Star Trek story. Now, also, Steve Shives brought up on his website, I think today or yesterday, the idea of, is Star Trek a military or is Star Trek not a military? What's the deal? Because in certain versions of it, they say they're not. In certain other versions, they say it is. The modern stuff seems to say it is. At one point, Picard said it wasn't. But that was just Picard being cheeky. And Roddenberry always said it wasn't. We could have a character address that in the story. Kind of funny. Especially with companions and stuff. Are there any threads from the previous series, from Legacy, that we've overlooked, that we need to go back and do? Are there any threads from the other shows that we overlooked and need to do? I like the idea of having... And then now if you have your 32nd century people appear, again, like some kind of time travelers, that would be confusing too, so you probably don't want to do that too much. But they are the current Starfleet academies. The names, the ages go everywhere. In that case, have Dewick come back, because absolutely she's into it. She's like, I want to come back. I'll do something. But yeah, in the story, of course, not real. As her character can come back. Yeah. So it's, yeah. And it's kind of its own timeline. Everything post that Q episode with the time travel and Connell shows up and all that. Everything post that, and then the future Kestra fixes the timeline. Everything post that, all the new stuff, the newer stuff, including the whole zombie story arc, is a slightly altered timeline, which was fixed at the end of the episode after the zombie arc. And so this is Elseworld stuff now. It's different from the other ones. And like the Transformers one did before. Yeah, we're ripping off our own stuff, and that's fine. But the Star Trek meets the Transformers was different on itself. And the other ones are different on their own as well. Don't need to know all that. As I said on many of the Transformer ones. Yeah, so you want to make it Star Trek military thing. There's not much to do with that idea. It's Steve Shives' idea. It's like, yeah, it's a quasi-military. It's always been like the Coast Guard meets NASA. It's always what it was. It's sort of Space Navy with Coast Guard meets NASA. In the first season of the original Star Trek 60 years ago, They didn't really think about it too much. They just had a lot of World War II veterans in there, and they figured they had to have a hierarchy of people on the ship, on a ship of some kind. A hierarchy. Modeled after the Navy and the Air Force, they got together. And now there's a Space Force since 2019. They're ripping off. That's the administration currently ripping off me. Canary Space, yeah. Blatantly ripping off Canary Space. That's what it's called, Space Force. It was called that during, as far back as the 80s. The 80s version of Space the Final Frontier, Planetcom, 86 Planetcom. It was retitled Planetcom. And Distant Cousins, it was called Space Force. That's what it was called, Space Forces. Yeah, they stole it. Yeah, I guess I'm famous. But yes, now 77,000 views on that one channel. Yeah, more than the population of Milpitas. But on this channel, I think it's 10,000 views on the Star Trek channel. So you have it might be something like that. So you have yeah, and it has some ideas. Throw around and throw at the wall. And probably the easiest thing to do is a sort of an outline, and shoot the outline. I liked the companion obsession story, and then it went back to a time when it was they went back to a planet that was never explored in Star Trek, but only in the novels, Centaurus. Of course, you can make that joke about the 3-body problem in there as well, because they had to do that again. Also, the guy stayed at an Airbnb with a guy with their talkative guy about from a Lucasfilm. His son is Lucasfilm. He used to work at Lucasfilm and a number of other movies. And there was that tenuous connection to Scott Boyd. Turns out, though, I don't think they knew each other. They didn't. But yeah, yeah. So there's all this other. Yeah, it could be something. Things. Of course, my fan films tend to be pretty much PG, but I say they're PG-13 just to avoid all the hassle of there's it's not really for kids. It just isn't. But these older ones are okay with that. Yeah, sure, include us. It's fine. It's not like back in the day when Amanda Stone and the two of the other characters were like, "Oh, is it going to be? I don't want it to be ever scary." It wasn't ever going to be. No, the new cast doesn't say things like that. Well, we did do it. We even did a couple of legacy episodes where we dealt with a character who was avant-garde that was in the cast. It wasn't really the person, though. We were just basing it kind of loosely on him. He was not there this time. So. And yeah, he was not in trouble from that. That was just something else. Well, you got to have tension in the crew. So there's a guy that's Randy. It's like, yeah, of course there is. There's got to be a Randy guy in there somewhere, right? It's perfectly acceptable. As long as he doesn't act on his Randiness. Could be a lady that's Randy too. But no. So there's there's nothing untoward. Yes. Star Trek story. It seems to come up with something that doesn't deal with Centaurus. I can understand why they wouldn't go there in Star Trek. It's too close. It's literally in the Federation backyard. But I did in my story. Because there's a place that they've never been there before. So one of the other crews on one of the other ships, trying to stay out of history's way, will go on a mission in this story before the 4th of July and go on a space mission. And so we don't know who they are. We don't know what they're up to. We don't even know what the set's going to look like. But we will see what they do, if they do anything interesting, and cobble it all together into a queue. I like the. Well, we're not going to do that. I like the convention years ago, and John Delancey joking. Well, obviously she's his ex-wife. That's pretty funny. Okay. No, we're not going to do that. But yeah, nobody's ex-wife. Nobody's going to get their action figure character is based loosely on the figures. But the Admiral Dewitt character does have powers to an extent. It's just like a Q. other Cillians. There are other Cillians. I like the idea of there being other Cillians, and that they're not all the Calicat-Cillians. There are other ones that are sort of... There's even a bizarre story from one of the other Woods characters, the boy one, one of the boy ones, who was all like, "Oh yeah, I went to this play where the play has a ridiculous premise in it, where obviously he goes to Valley Christian or somewhere like it, where the idea is that somebody was cornered in a restroom. A girl corners another girl in a restroom. It's you don't, and you might think that, well, where's this going? Oh, what is this? An anti-trans thing? No, it's not. Actually, it was more pathetic than that. In the story, the play, she's just tries to torment this other girl in the play into denouncing her faith, which is a dumb persecution fantasy. I mentioned this to Mark's Cards because I met him as well Thursday previous, and he said, well, that's just a persecution fantasy. I took it from the other angle. I took it from the angle of, well, it would never happen because people don't react like that in the situation. If that had happened in the days of Pine Hill, as I said to the kid, if that happened in the days of my high school, the two girls would have just fought each other, and it would have ended up with them in the office. It wouldn't have been like denouncing anything. They just would have been, they would have fought each other. Because that did happen, not fighting each other. But Mark's Cards came in from the atheist angle, and that well, it would never happen because it's a prosecution fantasy, religious prosecution fantasy. I suppose you could throw in a little TMS and cult in there and say, well, if it's a cult, they would do that. Throw a little TMS. Now, like maybe it's Mariner's crew in a ship, in the story. So it's Mariner's crew, not Alexander's, different crew. And maybe you could have like a TMS officer on the ship. You could do that. But yeah, and that person is struggling with the idea of their having left the cult. You could do that kind of thing. Marcel Sportius officer. Trying to figure out what would you do with this. Yeah. Come up with something. Yeah. Another Star Trek one. We're not going to do we're not doing another Transformer one because there isn't a third trilogy, 200 pages of story to go with that. There just isn't. You could write an outline of that and do that, but do we want to beat that one too? I mean, that's the idea of that horse there. Is there any reason to go back there other than, oh, the Echelon was, not different. You could make a Star Trek Echelon meets the Transformers. You could do that, or a Carta one, do that. But no, I don't think so. I think a Star Trek one makes the most sense. Met with a cast from the old OG cast. Let's do a Star Trek one. If come up with something.